As these riders headed into the 2020 summer break, Walker Fowler had captured win number 60 en route to his 6th national championship. With 5 rounds of racing left to go in the Grand National Cross Country Championship season, the big question is, will anyone be able to slow him down or stop him en route to GNCC greatness? The next chapter starts now. The Mountaineer GNCC is next.
Are you ready to go GNCC Racing?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Summit Bechtel Reserve just outside Beckley, West Virginia, the National Boy Scout Camp for this round number 9 of America's Premier Off-Road Racing Championship, the 2020 GNCC Series presented by Specialized and AM8 National Championship. This is the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mountaineer GNCC, and a couple of short months ago, we were in northern West Virginia in Maysville at a place called the High Voltage GNCC, where Walker Fowler was in search of win number 60 after 2 consecutive losses in this 2020 Grand National Cross Country Championship Series. Rarely does Walker Fowler lose 2 in a row, and you never see it happen 3 times in a row. And well, on this day, he would not be denied as the race wore on. A little rough and tough stuff for Walker Fowler as he got off course and into some of those thick weeds, but it didn't pay him no never mind, as he was able to keep his head down and keep charging and take it all the way to the checkers in search of that what seemed to be elusive win number 60. Some great battles going on behind him as Cole Richardson and the number 2 of Bryson Neal, the 2 toughest competitors Fowler has seen all season long. Well, they switched positions back there. Kind of a late race strategy by the number 4 of Cole Richardson, wondering if it would pay off. Well, Walker Fowler seeming to have some issues, bumping into a tree here and a tree there, gets off the bike, has to remount the machine after getting it off that tree, loses some time, but you see how much time he had amassed, and the guys behind him had no idea that he was struggling. They were never able to actually capitalize on the situation, and Walker Fowler took this one on home and sealed the deal on win number 60, which was a win that seemed to be eluding him, but was able to finally make that happen and gave himself a little bit less stress heading into the summer break, which is something that he certainly needed after suffering an injury in the offseason, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, that was, I tried to throw it away a couple times there. We got a killer start. That Moto Experts motor just fired up, and that son of a gun pulled with those anti-gravity batteries. They got us off to a good start, so them GBC tires hooked up the hill through the number 1. Looked back, it was Bryson, and I was like, well, he came to play, so let's dance, Pilgrim. And man, it was fun. I had a good first 2 laps and was like just on cruise control. And the wheels fell off the bus the 3rd and beginning of the 4th lap. He got it down to about 10 seconds. You know, when you're used to not having anyone that close behind you for a while, you know, 10 seconds seems like he's on your grab bar. So I got my head out of my rear end and I said, you know what? You didn't come here to get beat again. You promised to win last race and you failed, so let's not do that again. And man, I don't like not keeping promises, and I hate losing. So like I said, I finally just thought about what I needed to do, get the job done, and I'll be damned we got it done.
Well, that was in. This is now, as 2 months have since passed, and we are now ready to roll into round number 9 of this GNCC series. 2 hours of racing. We'll see about 30 minutes of it condensed here on MAVTV as we roll through a 10-plus mile race course. Lots of rocks, and believe it or not, some mud here in southern West Virginia as the green flag flies on this one, and we roll into that first all balls whole shot award. And look at this, sweeping the outside. It's West Virginia's own Britt Sturdivant from Montrose, West Virginia, grabbing the early lead. That's Walker Fowler, the number 1, back in the number 2 spot, and look behind him. It's the number 2, the big thorn in the side, Bryson Neal. Opening up in a third-place position. The XC2 Pro-Am off and rolling. Austin Abney's been a big, strong starter in this one. Let's see how he gets off on this one. Ooh, look, and it's Drew Landers, one of his toughest competitors, going to grab that hole shot, but who's going to grab the early lead? That almost looks like former motocrosser, the number 400 of Noah Mickelson. Shouldn't say former motocrosser. He's now an AMA Pro ATV motocross racer as well as XC2 Pro-Am racer as well. Picking the action up here on our first shot as we check in. Walker Fowler has established himself now as the leader in this one, and it's going to be trying to play chase to Walker Fowler. And we talked about Walker Fowler having an injury coming into this one. Will it affect the race day today? Stick around to find out. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll catch up with some of this great racing when GNCC continues.
Coverage of the 2020 Grand National Cross Country Series on MAVTV is brought to you in part by Specialized Turbo E-Bikes. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready. And by Yamaha. Revs your heart.
Welcome back to the Boy Scout camp here in southern West Virginia, where Bryson Neal has taken over the lead here on lap number 1 away from Walker Fowler as we pick the action up here. And you can see it's rather mountainous terrain and rocky terrain as well, as a little off-camber as these riders are taking a look at that. And if you pay much attention to this race today, you're going to notice that a lot of this track is wet and a lot of it is rocky and a lot of it is off-camber, which is kind of a big obstacle for these riders trying to put all that together in one format. As we roll down through lap number 1 here, looks like Bryson Neal, they call him the Bullet, the Bidwell Bullet, and they do it for a reason. He rolls like a bullet, no doubt about that. Adam McGill up to the number 2 spot as Walker Fowler has dropped the 3rd. This is a good, strong start for the Gator right here from the mountains of West Virginia. Now, Adam, not necessarily been gracing the podium much over the last couple of seasons or even taking any wins as far as that goes, but the one thing that he is and always has been is a threat when we come to the great state of West Virginia. The race fans are on his side, and there's something that he bodes well with as far as the terrain and the soils of these mountains is concerned. And right now, things are going very well for him in the early part of this race. Many of the key players up front that we expect to see, Fowler back there in the number 3 spot. We see Richardson and also McClure back there in the number 4 and 5 spots. Kind of curious right now where we might be seeing Chris Borich in that mix of things as the number 2 continues to hold on to the lead, checking in with our 3rd checkpoint out here on the race trail, and there is Walker Fowler still holding on to a number 3 position. We're starting to see that gap open up a little bit here on this first lap of racing now as your leader Bryson Neal trying to put some distance between himself and McGill. That's not having much luck in making that happen, and in the process, Walker Fowler's been able to catch back up. Now, let's talk a little bit about Walker Fowler as we get this all sorted out for you. We talked about an injury in the summer break. Well, what happened was about a week after the High Voltage GNCC was working on his track, and he cut the tip of his ring finger off, which, they had to have a couple of surgeries, and you think, oh, that's not going to be much of a deal. Maybe not the grip, and it is a bigger deal than what a lot of people realize, but the one thing that has really put Walker Fowler behind the 8 ball is his training. He wasn't able to train nearly as much throughout the course of the summer, and that's been one of his key components as of late, especially since we've seen the rise of Bryson Neal and Cole Richardson in their level of competition. They are nearing that level that Walker Fowler has, and any edge that Walker has and he may have lost is certainly starting to take its toll on him. Look at this. It looks like Adam McGill trying to go for the lead over here as he takes an alternate line away from the number 2 of Bryson Neal. Now, Neal will maintain the number 1 position, but he was able to reel in a lot of that real estate that we saw starting to open up between those two in that 1st and 2nd place position. And now we got a new leader. Adam McGill has moved into the number 1 position. So McGill is hungry here in West Virginia. The race fans really seem to be working in his favor, along with this race trail and these conditions today, wet and muddy off-camber rocks. And what we heard from some of these early morning racers is it is as tough or tougher than any snowshoe GNCC that they've had to race when you put the whole thing together out there. Bryson Neal now dropping off to the number 3 spot as Walker Fowler has gotten around him now, and it's still the number 521 of Adam McGill leading this one. Top 3, though, they are pretty close, so don't be giving any wins away to anyone just yet, as this race day is far, far from over here on lap number 2. Bryson Neal leading that first lap, dropping now here on lap number 2 to the 3rd place position. It's got Walker Fowler between he and that number 1 position. Here comes the battle now for the 4th place position, led by Jared McClure. Cole Richardson back there in that number 5 position aboard the number 4 machine. As these two riders go at it now, back there in the number 6 spot, I believe that is the number 3 of Chris Borich, keeping the front 5 in somewhat check here in the midway point, or nearing the midway point of this 2-hour battle here through the mountains of West Virginia. Well, wrapping up 2 laps of racing, Adam McGill, the Gator from West Virginia, leading this one. The big question is, will he be able to hang on to it? Stick around. The Mountaineer GNCC continues after this. Welcome back to GNCC on MAVTV, and a big part of the weekend at GNCC is racing, from daylight to dark pretty much, and on Saturday evenings you can always catch America's newest sensation and national championship in EMTB GNCC, electric mountain bike racing. It's pedal assist racing that has offered up some pretty exciting battles throughout the course of the 2020 season, and of course Hot Rod Charlie Mullins taking the win here in Beckley, West Virginia. Another one for him as he's en route to his 2nd national EMTB title. Look at this, Adam McGill in the pits here for a quick splash of gas, and you can see he's pretty excited. I think as surprised as anyone that he's out front in this one. He's not the only one pitting. We see that Bryson Neal is pitting, also Walker Fowler in the pits, and there is Joe Borich waiting on Chris Borich, his rider, to check in. But how about it? The West Virginia Gator is chomping still as we roll into lap number 3 now here at the Mountaineer GNCC. And again, you know, I don't want to say I counted Adam McGill out of it by no stretch of the imagination, because he's always a threat in the mountains of West Virginia. But I will have to admit, a little bit of a surprise here today. But as great as things are going, he can't seem to open things up too much over Neal and Fowler, as both these riders are right there. And look at this, tough break for Walker Fowler, and he is wedged in between those 2 tiny trees. That's almost like a Chinese finger cuff thing what we got going on there, because Walker's going to have a tough time getting that one out. There's some of Bryson Neal's pit crew coming over to help out, it looks like. So he's got a little bit of aid and assistance, but it's going to be too little too late, at least for a couple of positions, as the number 4 of Cole Richardson goes by. Now the number 5 of Jared McClure is by. And there is Luke Wilson. He's an amateur rider from the College B class. He has stopped to help Walker Fowler and get him off that tree. Walker Fowler is off and rolling. He's lost a couple of positions and a whole lot of time in the process, which will pretty much make this a 2-man race with about a lap and a half of racing left to go. Looking at these course conditions as well, pointed it out a little while ago, you know, saw the dusty conditions on the starting line, but that's really the only place there's dust. Down here in the trees, in the low-lying valleys of these mountains, there's a lot of wet and moist soils, and we're seeing a lot of water in some low-lying areas as well. So you can see these riders are hitting a variety of different terrain, and as we pointed out as well, there's also a lot of rocks and a lot of off-camber. So this race course is, I think, producing quite a bit of competition in itself, let alone the riders that these riders are having to compete against. There is the number 4 of Cole Richardson, and behind him still is McClure now into that number 5, or excuse me, that number 4 spot on the number 5. Remember, Walker Fowler now dropping back to the number 5 position after that little mishap in between the trees, and he's already closing up a little bit of gap on that 4th place position. He might still have a chance to mount a challenge for an overall podium position here today. Again, the biggest factor for Walker Fowler is conditioning, and in these rough and rugged terrains, this might be taking a little bit more of a toll on the champ than what he is normally accustomed to. Self-admittingly, coming into this race, talking to him off camera and behind the scenes, he says, my conditioning level is way down. He says the finger, it's still sore, but that's not the issue. Right now, he seems to be riding at a pretty high pace. Just a couple little mistakes taking him back, and this rider right here not having any problems. Neither is this one. It is still the number 521 and the number 2 going 1 and 2. Only a couple of seconds separate them with a little more than a lap to go. Can Adam McGill hold on to it in his home state? Stick around to find out.
Coverage of the 2020 Grand National Cross Country Series on MAVTV is brought to you in part by Specialized Turbo e-bikes. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. And by Yamaha, revs your heart.
Welcome back to Summit Bechtel as Adam McGill, the Gator from West Virginia, leading in his home state. Look at that. The Gator missing his visor off of his machine, but still riding very aggressively here in the latter part of the race. Less than a lap to go now for the 521 as he smells victory in the air, and that gap is starting to open up quite a bit back to that number 2 position. Last we saw, they were nose to tail. That was first and second place with Bryson Neal back in second. We got the report that Bryson Neal made the pass on McGill, and now McGill comes out all by himself, and now here comes Cole Richardson in second, and now we're getting reports that Bryson Neal may have broken down as Cole Richardson moving into that number 2 position. So that's going to do it for the number 2 as far as his chances on the day are concerned, but the number 4 of Cole Richardson still might have a chance to strike back here in the latter part of this race. You can see some lap traffic, and the West Virginia fans are certainly out in full force here today to make this a great race on either way you look at it. The lap traffic going to try to slow him down. The fans are going to try to speed him up as we roll through these mountainous rocks. Look at this gap that has opened up to the number 2 position. I believe that Adam McGill may be getting a little bit more than he bargained for as far as this win. I know he was pretty excited at the pit stop as far as that was concerned. Couldn't believe he was leading the race, and I can only imagine what he's feeling like here late in the race. Back up to a number 3 position now, Walker Fowler, after dropping off to 5th place where he got stuck on a tree right here, right there, a lap or so ago. That dropped him off a couple of spots. He totally avoids that area of the racetrack this time. He does not want that happening 2 laps in a row as we make our way down to the final stretches here. And Walker Fowler is moving his way, it looks like, into a number 2 position as Cole Richardson drops off to the number 3 spot on that Teely Energy Racing Action Off-Road Yamaha that he's riding out there. Look at that off-camber. Look at those roots that are starting to be exposed here late in the race, down in the lower lying areas, the mud holes. You see several different lines going in and around and through, and none seem to be any quicker than the others as your leader, Adam McGill, on it. Whoa, on his way out, taking out that little sapling, heading into the final finish line chicanes. Here comes the Gator, the 521, his first overall win in over 2 seasons now as he winds his way through the West Virginia fans and takes a celebration donut at the Checkers, and Adam McGill wins the Mountaineer GNCC.
Yeah, I felt good. You know, we've been working, I wouldn't say working real hard, but just enjoying my time off, you know, and trying to reconnect. And believe it or not, coming up here on the start line, it's like, you know, sometimes you just lose the luster. And I was about there, and honest to God, like, I don't know what it was today. I don't know if it was just, you know, people's looking out for me or what, but damn, it clicked and it felt good. Holy. It's been a while.
It has been a while for Adam McGill as we head down to the checker flag yet again, and this is the battle for second place position as it looks like not much of a battle as Cole Richardson has won that one and taken second place.
We got off to a decent start. The track was actually a little wetter than I expected, but you know, I just didn't really ride very well at the beginning. You know, the bike was handling great. Like I said, we did testing this summer. You know, I kind of felt good. I had a little get off Tuesday and hurt my shoulder a little bit, so I didn't really ride all week. But, you know, it felt decent. But, you know, that first hour, you know, we just couldn't get the ball rolling. And, you know, I kind of just settled in. And, you know, things just started to click, and next thing you know, I was in third, and then, you know, towards the end there, it's a bummer. I guess I talked to Adam, and Bryson ended up dropping a ball joint or breaking, and, you know, that's a bummer on his end. And, you know, so we got second handed to us today, but, you know, I think we would have ended up on the podium, but I'll take a second.
A big day for Cole Richardson as he finishes up second behind the West Virginia native Adam McGill, who took the win. And rounding out the top three, maybe a big surprise to himself, Walker Fowler rounds out the podium.
For our program, we're just pumped to be out here. We didn't get the whole shot, but I knew I had to get a good start. And if I could get out there and run my pace, I could kind of control where I needed to be and what to do. So, you know, I hung in there as long as I could. And honestly, now knowing kind of how the race finished, I ended up having one mistake, and it wasn't really my fault. It was just a gnarly section. This track is rough in spots. And coming up a hill, I got a little sideways. I had a tree get hooked in behind my Nerf bar, between my Nerf bar and my tire, and it took 5 of us to get the quad off the hill. We had to pick it up to our chest, walk it about 3 feet up the hill, and then drop it. And I mean, it was just a bummer. It was just a crap deal. And then I rode my heart out and, you know, got back to a podium position. And we're just pumped to be up here. We're pumped to be racing. You know, with the whole COVID crap, I'm so sick of that. But we're here. We're racing. And good points day. Championships coming. I'm just pumped. I'm just happy to be here, man.
There you go. Points are definitely what are paying the huge dividend right now for Walker Fowler, taking a third-place position. The way this one started out, it was all West Virginia, it looks like, as the man in black, Brent Sturdivant from Montrose, West Virginia, takes the early lead in this one. A hole shot, if you will, grabs a few extra bucks in the process of doing that. Walker Fowler right there behind him, close in tow. It wasn't long before Walker was out front, and then Bryson Neal made the pass on him, and it looked like it was going to be an all Bryson Neal day, but the big surprise of the day was the 5:21 of Adam McGill. And, you know, like we said, we always expect him to be a threat in the mountains of West Virginia, but I think this may have surprised everyone, including Adam on this day, as he gets around the number 2 of Bryson Neal, starts to stretch things out there. Now, they ran kind of close, nose to tail for a good part of the race as they began to stretch things out. Walker Fowler had his issues that we heard about. He dropped all the way back to a 5th place position. And then, of course, it was Bryson Neal and the number 521 of McGill battling it out for that 1st place position. And here's the problem. One of the problems that Walker Fowler was talking about that took him pretty much out of this race on that WFR Yamaha there. So it took him a little while to get out of this one, dropped back to 5th place position, had another incident, another place on the track, but was still able to get back up to a 3rd place position. But down the stretch and down to the wire, Adam McGill does it without a visor, but that doesn't matter. No goggles either, as he takes the donut at the checkers, and a big, big win for that purebred Mountaineer himself. Well, that's going to wrap things up here from Southern West Virginia. We'll be heading back to Ohio for the Burr Oak GNCC. Join us in a couple of weeks. I'm Rodney Tomlin on behalf of us here at GNCC. Have a great day, everybody.